One Friday evening in 1998, early 98, January, I was home alone and began to feel the onset of what turned out to be a heart attack. I actually had 100% blockage of the main artery on the front of my heart, what they call the widowmaker. But fortunately, it was so acute, I recognized all the classic symptoms of a heart attack. I was sweating profusely. I was nauseous and dizzy. I had tremendous pain in my arms and chest. And at 39 years old, my thought process was, I'm confident this is a cardiac event. I suffered some pretty substantial muscle damage. Now, typically, a healthy 40-year-old man would have a pumping capacity of about 65 or 70%. Mine was 33%. Over the next few years, I had 2 more stents implanted because of additional blockages. So there was a gradual decline in function. Every time I'd get a checkup, my pumping capacity, my ejection fraction had dropped from 33 to 30 to 28 to 26, and ultimately in the hospital, I think it was told it was down to about 11 as we got towards the end stage. Below where the infarct had been, below the blood clot, that tissue was all dead and had calcified. So there was just no alternative to a heart transplant. When you're in the hospital and you know that there's only one way out, and that's going to be to receive a heart transplant, there's no other exit strategy, that thought occurs to you. It certainly occurred to me that in order for me to extend my life and go on about doing what I love to do and be with my family, that some other family is going to suffer some unspeakable tragedy, and it's going to come upon them suddenly.
Stephen became an organ donor before he ever got a license. My mom, when she passed away from cancer, she was an organ donor, and Stephen thought that was wonderful. And he was really proud of his grandma for doing that, Grammy. And he decided then that he was going to be an organ donor.
His personality in life was to do whatever it took to keep and work, give whatever he had that he could. He didn't care what it cost him or whatever. So to give the ultimate gift of, a better life for somebody else, it's no surprise.
It was just delightful meeting her. She could see Chris and see that he was healthy, and she could hear how well he's taking care of that gift and what a great steward he is of the gift that they gave us. And she kept correcting us, and she'd say, "We didn't give it to you, Stephen did. It was his gift. He's the one that wanted it." He was 24, and he had been, since, like you said, since he was 18, he'd been wanting to be an organ donor. And Stephen gave, she told us then, he gave to 6 different people. 6 different people received his organs. And Chris was the one that got the heart.
We, I think, all kind of assumed that they would want to hear the heart beating. And so we had arranged I'd borrowed a stethoscope. So at some point in the conversation, we decided, well, let's just breach the subject. Would you like to hear it? And of course they did.
When I heard Stephen's heart beating in Chris's chest, I felt so glad for Chris, but to know that my son is there, his legacy continues to grow, and everything that he was is still going on through Chris. His heart beats in Chris.
The very first heart transplant on a human being was in 1967, and I'm old enough to remember it. That's how far we have come, how much the science has advanced. Almost every element of my story, going back to 1998, the American Heart Association played a role in getting me to where we are today. Everywhere I turned, I kept finding AHA's fingerprints. At every level, the support of the American Heart Association, it touches virtually every family in this country, and everyone in this room in some way, whether they know it or not, has been impacted by the mission of AHA and by the people who came before us, who were generous, who donated, who supported, who volunteered. We're blessed in Chattanooga to have a philanthropic culture, and in particular to have this fine group of people that work for AHA, that volunteer with AHA, and that ultimately all benefit from our mission. So thank you, and please be generous.